In the Pits is partnered with QBR. Are you seeking to heal and recover from the toll that paintball puts on the mind and body? QBR has the solution for you. Head to QBRofficial.com and use code PITS10 for 10% off of your order plus free shipping. QBR, they don't sell broccoli. In the Pits is partnered with Mariachi Águilas de Oro. Based in Austin and servicing the surrounding areas, these Golden Eagles will bring life to any event you are having, from birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, corporate events, or even a simple performance to enjoy. Guillermo Padilla, one of their trumpet players, is also a member of the Texas paintball scene. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram to check out some of their past performances, or give them a call to book them for your event today. In the Pits is partnered with 71 Designs. Owned and operated by veteran Wade Martin, and partnered with fellow Texas brand Compete. 71 Designs can take your ideas for soft goods, merchandise, and casual wear and make them a reality. Message 71 Designs on Facebook or Instagram to get started today. In the Pits is partnered with Hydra. Designed by players for players, you can outfit yourself in Hydra gear from head to toe. Have confidence that when you make a purchase from Hydra, you are purchasing a well-tested and well-thought-out product, trusted by several top teams, including first-place semi-pro team PaintballFit.com. I personally recommend their Hydra Black knee pads. Purchases over $100 receive free shipping. Head to hydra.fit to browse their selection and discover the Hydra mentality. In the Pits is partnered with XTPL Events. The Extreme Tournament Paintball League is a series put on by the Lukow family of Paintball Fit fame that gives the opportunity for players to learn and grow together as a team. 3-man, Challengers and Champions X-Ball, Draft Mech X-Ball, and even Youth 3v3. There's something for everyone at XTPL. Not to mention prize tosses, raffles, and the infamous paintball munching contest. Events happen throughout the year, and the prizes never disappoint. Sign up for an XTPL event today on PB Leagues. In the Pits is partnered with TexanHemp.com, locally shipped cannabis seeds. In a world where saving time means making money, TexanHemp.com, a local cannabis seed bank owned and operated by local Texas pro player Jared Sherman, is making waves by becoming the go-to source for all cannabis genetics in Texas. Carrying a large assortment of cannabis cultivars, including Texas-approved varieties for use in the Texas Hemp Program, high THCA seeds for novelty use, as well as premium genetics bred for solventless extraction, TexanHemp.com has the ability to satisfy even the most sophisticated collectors. Head to TexanHemp.com and use code INTHEPITS for 10% off of your orders. In the Pits is partnered with Bem Wraps. Behind every mask is a unique and creative player. Tap into it when you order your next custom headpiece. Their Build-A-Band lets you communicate with them one-on-one to make your order just the way you want, all the way down to the color of the stitch. Check out their Instagram at BemWraps for drops and build videos of them working on orders. They offer very competitive pricing, so reach out today to get started on your own one-of-a-kind headpiece. In the Pits is partnered with Compete. Compete is a Texas-based brand by Jell Stewart of professional team AC Diesel that provides custom jerseys, pants, headbands, straps, tech shirts, and any other soft goods to help individuals and teams compete at the highest level. Support Texas Paintball and message Compete on Facebook or Instagram and mention In the Pits Podcast for 10% off your entire order. In the Pits is partnered with the San Antonio 3v3 Paintball Series. The series provides local players with an affordable, fun opportunity to experience the excitement of tournament paintball. Visit SAT3PB.com for details on upcoming events. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot is now scheduling photo and reels coverage for teams competing in the upcoming NXL Windy City Major. Head to GetDat_shot on Instagram to check out his previous work or to shoot him a message to secure your media coverage today. In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram. Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Episode 120 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything here in paintball in Texas. This is going to be a little bit different of a format. For the most part, we feature guests and their background and all that. But Mike Hinman here is actually a returning guest, one of the few that we've had on the show. I think the last time that we had you on the show, Mike, was shortly after you purchased the USXBL. I want to say it was that same week that you bought the USXBL, which was over a year ago now. So just to catch up with you, how have things been since that acquisition? Oh, and I think we are here, Mike. Looks like the connection is a little spotty here. So here, we're going to pivot just to help the connection. Go ahead and turn your camera off and Mike. That way we still get the audio.
Totally. Can you hear me?
Yes.
As I was saying, I don't think paintball's in a greater place. I don't think our economy is, right? Like it's interesting to see the fluctuations in like there's in our cycle of economy, right? There's ups, there's down. We're in an election year. Historically, people don't spend as much money in election years as other years, right? Like you feel a little bit of a tightening up everywhere right now, right? Like every field you talk to across the country is down on teams. So, I mean, it's been good. It's going to be a building process, right?
For sure. So I turned
my knock at anything. You look at the past.
Oh, sorry, Mike. You keep cutting in and out. I'm gonna turn my camera off on my end of Discord. Hopefully, that'll help your connection a little bit. Just let me know.
I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. So you were saying, sorry, just to wrap that up. I know that the connection is kind of cutting in and out a little bit. But you're saying the paintball is kind of in an interesting place right now as far as the economy goes.
Yeah, I mean, talking to the main manufacturers of paint, right? It's a good way to judge things. I don't think anybody's at full tilt production right now, right? Like everybody that's making paint is better than they were a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right. Well, I mean, even despite all of that, it seems like the NXL themselves are doing really well. I mean, we were just saying right before we came on that I think Tom Cole has said on other podcasts that every event this year has set a record either for largest non-World Cup event or largest second event, largest third event, largest fourth event. So even despite all of the uncertainty, they seem to be doing really well for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's one league that's doing well. Look at every other league; they're definitely down a bit, right? And like I'm saying, more industry, just total people playing. I mean, the weather has been rough the last couple summers, right? Like Texas sees it. You have, was it last year 100 plus days of 100 plus degrees straight? It's tough to get people out playing paintball as much, right? All comes and we see the pickup come back. People come back to start playing. Everybody's back in school. Right? Like there's a million factors to it, but just I talk to everybody in the industry on a pretty regular basis. It's just, I think people are having to work a little bit harder for the same dollar that they made before. And that's just right. People are having to advertise harder, do more for the players, which is sport. But at the end of the day, when your paint companies and so on we're seeing pro teams being dropped mid-season, right? It's definitely not a sign of are doing great on the economy side, if that makes sense. I mean, people want to play paintball because paintball's fun, and I don't see that ever going away. But the actual business of it is in a tight spot right now.
For sure. But on the topic of regional leagues having to do more for their players, I mean, the reason that we're doing the show this evening is to give a preview to the series standings in all of the X-Ball divisions for USXBL. And could you tell us more about what exactly is on the line for those series prizes?
Yeah, Division 5's $8,000 in cash. Division 4 is $10,000 in cash. And then the Elite Division, which is high-end D3, is 12,000 in cash plus the normal event prizes.
So there's quite a lot on the line here for these teams, which as we'll go through this evening, we'll see just exactly what it will take for all of these teams to be able to secure the series. So let's go ahead and get started with Division 5. So we'll go D5, then D4, and then the Elite Division here. So as we can see, here are the standings as far as the so this doesn't exactly reflect like the current standings as far as like the exact placement. These are the placements as far as the teams that are registered to play this weekend that have a shot at the series title. So there are a few teams that might be somewhere in the middle of the pack here, but since they are not signed up to play the championship, I did not include them. So just for everyone's reference there. So in first place, we have Gunners D5, who have been absolutely on fire this year. I think since NXL Vegas, I want to say they've always gotten like a top 5 finish throughout the year in both the NXL and USXBL. And then in second place, you've got PB Gateway V2, who has gotten a 2nd, a 5th, and a 4th this year. In third place, you've got Shut Up There Trying with a 6th, a 4th, and a 5th. Fourth place, you got Helotus Fusion, who got a 3rd place, a 10th, and then won the Violence Open at X Factor. So that's a team who has, I believe they're new to D5 this year, but they've come out swinging for sure. And then rounding out the top, looks like 12 here, you've got New Orleans Smoke, Outlaw Anodizing D5, Austin Assault, Houston Zone Kids, Austin Oni D5, Countdown City 210, Gangster, and Cartel Paintball Team. So first off, Mike, what have you, if you've gotten to watch any of the Division 5 games this year, what have you seen throughout the season?
I mean, I've gotten to see a good amount of them. I mean, with these teams we've listed, right? Like, first off, Gunners are sitting in the top. Some of these guys are getting hot at the right time. Division 5 is always an interesting one, right? You come into a season, even if some of the D5 teams have some structure, maybe from the year before, maybe they played an event or 2 or 3, but didn't rank up or whatever it is. You're 5, right? And you guys know down with your organization, when you have young teams like that, they're really finding their way quickly, right? Some teams blow apart and some teams really buckle down and get better, and the curve goes up for them. Gunners have done great, like you said, all year. They've been doing better and better and getting hot at the right time, for lack of a better term, right? So, and we know, they practice down there with you guys. Jesse does a lot with them. I think they're a good good group of guys that have good leadership and have an ability to possibly transcend multiple divisions. Active in it, right? Gateway, I mean, John up at Gateway has done a great job with both of his teams, his 4 and his 5. Great organization up there, right? John actually goes back to WCBL days. He was there 10 plus years ago with LA Onslaught running championship teams there, and then moved out here to run the Gateway store. So John absolutely, his Division 4 team has a kid that I think is going to be a pro player at one point on it. He's got a lot of talent there. And then as you continue to go through, like you said, Shut Up, We're Trying. Everybody knows the organization, semi-pro all the way down. Barry and them are great people. It's a great opportunity for those teams around FIT and the younger players to get to be part of a big organization and work their way up, and a clear ladder system to get up, Fusion guys that won last event played great. The NO Smoke guys have played really well all year, right? From New Orleans, like some of their comms are some of the best I've ever seen, especially in Division 5, right? You got guys front Snake talking to front Dorito, clear as night and day. Really good team. Outlaw, we know that organization is deep in Texas with top NXL, semi-pro all the way down. Austin Assault won the first one last year, or this year. It has a bit of a rough event. It seems like they've had fun in the process, but talking to them, and a bit of a ride, right? They got hot at the beginning of the season, is kind of slowed down, but who knows where that's going to go. Zone, right? Part of that organization where you've got an elite team, a top team that you get to play against. I know they play a lot of paintball. all the way down. Oni, they get to play a lot of ball. Countdown, another large organization with younger players coming through. The Gangster guys, Cartel out of Fit. All good teams, right? We've seen some really good, tough teams in these divisions, right? And usually the teams that win or lose in these divisions, it just comes down to a couple mental errors, right? See guys make mistakes by themselves where you're like, as you continue to learn the game and the team aspect of it, you're kind of doing too much, right? Like do a little bit less, play a little more team game. So it's been a cool progression to see throughout the season in D5.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say about D5, like just a few years ago, before the NXL introduced D5XBall, D5 was like the intro to tournament play, and D4 was the intro to the X-Ball format. But now with Division 5 being the intro to X-Ball, you've got players that are coming in with like a couple of months, a full season, sometimes multiple seasons of experience under their belt before competing in this division. Like, for example, Gunners D5, they competed in D4 last year in Bunkerfest. They didn't do so hot, but they had the wherewithal to say, you know what? We need another season in D5. We have the points to be able to go back down. And now they're competing to win multiple series titles this year. So Division 5 here in Texas, at least, I'm not sure how it looks in other parts of the country, but it's not it wouldn't be my first choice to say like, hey, if you're playing paintball for the first time, go play D5. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Totally. It's definitely competitive, right? And I think you see that in a place like Texas where you have Division 4, Division 3, and there's teams. Texas is one region, and you can't really think of any others, even, like West Coast, Florida. Those are the real hotbeds of talent, right? Like, there isn't as many teams actually climbing the ladder in those other regions going all the way up as you've seen in Texas, right? Like way back when, I actually, the video clip of when X Factor was semi-pro and I was with Dynasty working their way up through, right? Got all the way up through. Obviously Diesel's done it. Mark Franz did it the most recent. Well, actually them and then the Fit Kids, which was Dallas for a while, and then the Fit guys. There's clearly an ability in the state to start at the bottom and work your way all the way up, and there's a lot of great talent around here to be able to show the way. So Division 5 is definitely tough. Like, it's, and what you said is right. Like same with the West Coast, when we brought in D5, the first year it was pretty green, and then like you're saying, there's teams, especially in D4, where you have so many teams. Like this event, we have 20, but we're like Bunkerfest and us have had 40 teams in there. At some point, mathematically, some teams are gonna do bad, right? It's not a knock at them. There's just too many teams in there, right? So a team can do bad and not rank out, like you pointed out about the Gunners guys. And the point system is, I think, pretty fair that way, right? Like if a team consistently does bad in a division, there's an ability to either drop down or stay there for a while until they can get the problems fixed.
For sure. And Sasha's here. Papa Sasha's in the chat. He's saying, like, if only there were more beginner and D5 tournaments that offered 3v3. Well, Sasha, we will definitely plug your 3v3 series here towards the end. I do want to get through these all of these divisional breakdowns beforehand, but we'll give some shout outs to some opportunities that are happening.
Totally. And with Sasha, the USXBL page, once we get through this event and all the post-event write-ups, but we will do our part to help pump the 3-man that's happening down at X Factor in November. Sasha and company are running.
For sure. So here on your screen, I have the spreadsheet up. So this shows all of these standings for all of the teams, all of the scenarios that need to happen in order for each team to secure the series prize. I also included, and I'll post this separately after the episode's done. I also included like a chart, just in case you want to check the math yourself, where how many points you're going to earn at each place, and then also the number of points behind first place if you get second through 20th. So, looking at our first team, the Gunners. So, the Gunners, they will secure the series if they get third place or better, as long as they finish ahead of PB Gateway, or if they just win. Gateway needs either a win or a finals appearance where Gunners does not make the finals. So those are the two teams that are in control of their destiny here. And moving on to Shut Up. So Shut Up needs a little bit of help here. They need the Gunners to finish 4th place or lower, Gateway 3rd place or lower, and a win to steal, which we're already kind of getting into some scenarios that are really tough. Gunners, their lowest place all year was 5th. So Shut Up definitely needs a little bit of help to go their way. Or, I mean, if they happen to match up in the quarterfinals, then maybe they can take care of business there. More and more help for some of these teams. And that'll be the kind of theme throughout the rest of this list.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, you've got it laid out very well, and I mean, mathematically laid out. Interesting part of it all is going to be once you get into that round of 8, right? Who the 8 teams that make it on, who the 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5 seeds, because we've all seen it before, same at the pro level, right? Where Houston Heat catches Dynasty in the round of 8, and you're like, man, that could be a semifinal game, right?
For sure. Now,
it'd be interesting to see if somebody does catch somebody in those top 3 in that round, who gets knocked out, because it can really throw things off, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing that I'll bring up is that with 20 teams, it's just the top 2 out of each bracket and no wild cards. So we could have another situation where it's a 3-way tie at 3-1, and that 3rd team just gets left out.
Yeah, and that's something once this season's over next week, where there's a million discussion points to be had. Like, I almost feel like there should be an addendum rule in there where if any team does make a 3-1, that number of teams making it on's got to get bumped up, right? Especially this year with the NXL. APPA went away from 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Now you see times where, 14 teams make it instead of the 16 before. Just kind of, it feels like, especially at a regional level, it would be good to be able to look at any team and say, hey, Christian, your team went 3-1. No matter what the scores are at 3-1, you still make it on. Do you agree with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you there. I know that the way that the NXL book has it right now is it's generally going to be the top 40% of teams move on, no matter how big the division is. And in a lot of sports, like in professional leagues, all the way, like if you look at the NFL, college football, hockey, basketball, it's generally the top 50% that move on to playoffs. So paintball being the top 40% is a pretty brutal cut.
Absolutely. And more for me, the point is this: if you go 3-1 and you have the look on Shut Up, We're Trying's face when they went 3-1 was that event 2 and got knocked out. You could almost tell they were stymied, right? Like, hold on, let me get this straight. We lost 1 game, 1-3, and we're going home. And I've seen it at the pro level all the way down. It's that once in a blue moon, it does happen in a division. It just, you would think at some point as a community, if we, same with the overtime thing, right? If we could get together and be like, listen, if any team comes out 3-1, they're going on. And if that means it's the top 2 per division, like right now there's 8. Of a 9th team that's 3-1, you take 10 teams and then there's a wild card round in there, right? It's got to be the most fair way, because as APPA draws it, we have nothing to do with the seating and who's where. Look at some of these brackets and you're like, dude, if you go 3-1 out of there and don't make it, you deserve to make it, right?
For sure. For sure. I've got some thoughts on how that can be restructured for the future, but let's go ahead and get back to this bracket. So let's see, my audio looks like audio is skipping for both of us. Okay. Dan, okay. Looks like we're good now. So moving on to the rest of these teams. So looking at Helotus Fusion, they need Gunners out in the quarterfinals. They need Gateway to lose the semifinals and lose the 3rd place match. And then they need to beat Shut Up and win the event in order to steal. And then getting to New Orleans Smoke, who's just in 5th for the series, they need Gunners to get 8th place, which is going to be a tall task there. PB Gateway 7th or lower, Shut Up out in the quarterfinals or lower, Fusion 4th or lower, and also win. Now then as we keep on going, it gets more and more dire. Outlaw needs Gunners 10th or lower, Gateway 9th, Shut Up 8th, Fusion 7th, Smoke 4th, and a win. And then like going up all the way down to Cartel. I'll skip some of these other scenarios because it just gets longer and longer winded. I'll post all of this so that everybody can read it for themselves. But Cartel technically is still in the series, but they basically need the whole board to flip upside down in order to have a chance. But it could happen.
Yeah, there's always a chance, right?
Definitely. All right. So looking in the chat before we move on to Division 4. So it's Mills asks, who do we think will come out of each bracket in Division 5? Do you care to make any predictions, or do you stay away from that?
For me, I'm going to stay away from it just because I think anytime in any sport, when you talk about who's going to make it on and you have to put a name on it, by default, kind of puts you against the other guys. And that is the last place I am. I want to see good games. I mean, your top division, Gunners, Houston Zone, Oni, Legion, and Hydra Kids. We all know the Hydra Kids are a solid D5 team, right? I was actually out at Fit last night dropping off equipment at 8:00 at night, and they were out there playing with the ladies team and the pro team, right? Those are the 3 Fit sponsored teams, I believe, and some of the Shut Up We're Trying semi-pro guys were out there doing drills. I mean, those kids have got a lot of exposure, right, to high-end paintball. The bracket B, Gateway, Assault won an event, right? Countdown solid. I mean, every team in there is capable, right? Get down into bracket C, Shut Up, Outlaw. I mean, Outlaw's had very good games. They're a hot and cold team. You see some points they play where they just roll through people, and you see other points they play where they struggle a little bit, right? And that's a Division 5 situation, but Outlaw gets hot at the right time. They could be capable of winning. All those teams are. So you just look through every one, and then the last one, I mean, right? The top 2 teams in there, people would bet on. But you look at every bracket and assume the top 2 teams are going to make it on, and you can guarantee one of those next 3 teams are for sure sending somebody home out of those. I would be very surprised if the top 2 in every bracket make it out, right? Somebody's coming in. They're not even to play spoiler just because they're playing better paintball at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. And there are a few teams here that are entering the series for the first time. So, for example, Official NTX, Texas Easy Company, and We Are Humans Black, I believe, have not played an event. So that is some real unknown quantities there. Those could be teams that are very solid and could be on upset alert. We don't know yet.
Absolutely. And I can guarantee this weekend at the event, you're going to be looking around and you're going to look at the scoreboard and you're going to be like, yep, there's somebody playing spoiler, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Upsets will happen. It's just the question of where. So let's go ahead and move on to Division 4 here. So Division 4, I believe there are 11 teams up in the running. So in first place, we've got PB Gateway, who have done very well this year. I think they won. Yeah, they won the last one at X Factor. Then you've got Outlaw AP Sharks, who won the second event. Then you've got Elite, who's been a top team all year. They've gotten 2 out of 3 podiums. Then you have Austin Notorious D4, who has gotten a podium. They got second place. Then you got Cap City Charge, been pretty consistently into the Sunday round. After that, you've got Shut Up We're Trying, Austin Evolution, Greed, Arizona Pole Position, Cold Blooded, and Austin Hype are all of the teams that are still in the running. So looking at all of these teams, what have you seen throughout the year, Mike?
Again, a lot of solid teams in there, right? Like Gateway sitting at the top, some serious talent and some serious talent in that organization, right? Like I know next year, I believe their top team will move up to D3. They have plenty of guys already. I think they have guys right now not playing, being ready for next year because they're just ranked too high, right? It's like Gerald Garcia, people like that. So that's another great team. Outlaw, right, has 5, 6, 7 teams total between here and every other league in NXL. lot of talent in that camp, right? Like they have the ability. A lot of teams, when you're short a guy, they got to call somebody from another team. Outlaw can look within, right? And they have a lot of talent. Elite, like you said, podium team. I honestly thought they were going to go D3 this year, but I don't know if with some of the older guys, their points drop. They won last year, San Antonio. Capable of winning, right? Absolutely. Simply put, they're capable of winning. Notorious, another team with a deep farm system, right? Behind their pro team. Mark's got a lot of talent in there. So App City shut up all the way down. There's just a lot of talent. Pole position sitting in 10th. Didn't they win the first event?
Oh, yeah.
And then have struggled from there, right? I mean, cold-blooded, pairing those guys are good guys. Really, who and the layout too, right? Who sometimes, and I know you as a player, me as a player, coach, some layouts you look at and you're like, it's going to be a tougher one, right? It just doesn't have flow to every team. So when this layout drops on Friday and people see it, what teams or is this, some people will say, oh, this is built for those guys or built for these guys or whatever it is. How does the layout play to each team's strength?
For sure. And looking at PB Gateway, for example, like that was a team that in 2023, they were playing D5 race to 2. And I believe they swept the Bunkerfest series. They won every single event in D5 race to 2. And now they jump up not only to Division 4, but also to the X-Ball format. And they've definitely hit the ground running. So it's interesting to see like how all of the teams are kind of shaking up. And definitely nobody that you can sleep on this list. Like I know, for example, Cap City Charge, they've gotten a 5th, a 4th, and a 7th. But if you look at their previous name, Austin Hypnotic, I believe they've won like the last 2 USXBL championship events 2 or 3 years straight. So that's not a team that you can sleep on going into October.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the Cap City Charge guys, off the field. A lot of, good back and forth banter. They've had a couple mistakes here and there in clutch time, right? And, I think absolutely they've learned from it, right? No matter what happens, win, lose, or draw, you either learn for it or it breaks you, right? As a team. And these guys, I don't think it's broke them. I think it's only made them stronger. Their resolve is strong. Like you said, they're a very capable group. Kind of one of those ones when they don't do it, I look at them and I'm like, man, what did we do wrong here? Because some of the games that I've watched them play up with Robert in the booth, I mean, they've played really lights out paintball and just not lived up to their potential, right? And we've all done that as a player, as a coach, where you kind of look around the circle and you're like, guys, we're really better than this,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the question with a lot of these names that you are used to seeing towards the top, like Elite, Shut Up, We're Trying, Austin Notorious, Greed. It's just a question of who's going to be able to execute on the field on this given weekend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, let's get into this. So the top 3 teams are all in control of their destiny. So PB Gateway, Outlaw Anodizing Sharks, and Elite they will secure the series if they win the event. After that, you've got Austin Notorious, who needs PB Gateway to not make the finals, and then if they win, they will steal. So pretty much those top 4 teams are in control of their destiny. Austin Notorious needs just one thing to go their way, but otherwise it's a pretty tight race at the top.
And that's great to see, right? Like you want the running to get all the way to the end, right? You don't want somebody to have it locked up at event 3. And this is pretty tight, right? Like looking at the current points, 1st to 5th, 23 points, divide them. Oh,
for sure. And I mean,
absolutely.
Looking at the top 4, it's just 11 points, which the gap between 1st place and 3rd place is 18 or almost 19 points at this event. So a lot of things are going to be changing with the double points.
Absolutely. Like you said, those guys all control their own destiny, which is where you want to be, right? Like in order to win a tournament, you got to beat everyone. If you think you can beat everyone, you just got to go execute, right?
Absolutely. So here on your screen right now, I've just got that placement chart again. I'll post this all after the episode if you want to do the math on your own. That's the number of points you're going to earn at each place and the number of points behind first place if you don't get first. So up next, Cap City Charge. They need PB Gateway to get fourth or lower. The other three teams, Outlaw, Elite, and Notorious, all third or lower, and a win to steal. So they need a lot of top teams with none of those top teams to make the finals, which now we're kind of getting into those. Okay, we need help here and there. But as we go down the list, you've got Shut Up, We're Trying. They need PB Gateway, who had their lowest place has been fifth all year, to not make the finals. To not make the playoffs, I should say. They need Sharks, Elite, and Notorious eighth or lower. So two of those three teams need to not make the playoffs. And Charge seventh or lower and to win. So as we get further and further down, the situation gets a little bit more dire, all the way down to Hype. So Hype needs Gateway, Sharks, and Elite all to really blow it at this one, 15th or lower, all of them. Notorious 14th or lower, Charge 13th, Shut Up, We're Trying, and Evolution 8th or lower, Greed 7th or lower, Pole Position 3rd or lower, and beat Cold Blooded and win the event in order to steal. So some of those teams have, I'd say, a little bit more or less likely depending on where they sit, but it's still going to be a tight race.
Absolutely. And even some of the teams that are deeper down there that probably know, they may not have a great chance at getting the overall. I think you still want to try to end up a couple of spots, multiple spots higher than you currently are ranked, right? Going into it. We want to win the event and in the process, continue to march up the ladder just for pride, right?
Oh, for pride and for $5,000 in Division 4.
Division 4's, for the overall, for the event, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Get that, and hopefully some of these top, it definitely would be cool to see one of these top teams pull it and have $15,000 walking away, which I feel regionally is a chunk of money for D4. So it'll be, and hopefully teams can use that money to do other things with it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know pole position is sitting pretty far down this list, but keep in mind, they won the first event. They got 10th at the second event, and they did not attend the Violence Open. So that's a team, even though they're far down the list, they're better than their points suggest in this spreadsheet.
Well, not showing up to one is going to drop you down the bracket a little bit, right? But with the capability, you're only down there because, like you said, you didn't play all three, you only played two. So now they're in a lower seeding, right? But they're going to have to go up against better teams, so they could be a spoiler as well.
For sure. And I'm going to pull the brackets up here real quick. So in bracket A, we've got PB Gateway, Greed, Pole Position, TDSM D4, and there's a team that we definitely need to talk about is Evil, Elite Audio, Video, and Lighting. So that's going to be a very... I'll just come out and say it. That's an unfortunate draw for PB Gateway, the 1 seed overall.
Yeah. Absolutely it is.
So, you've got Evil, who they clean swept NXL Texas. They've got former AC Dallas players on that line. They've got Arizona Pole Position, who won the first event. Obviously, Greed has been a very good organization in Texas throughout the years. So PB Gateway's definitely got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and the Donut Shop Mafia is not a bad organization either, right? I know they were out in Arizona a week or two ago, practicing with some of the teams out there at the field out in Tucson, one of the most beautiful turf fields that's ever been. They were out there playing. So, it's not like these guys aren't well practiced either, right? This whole bracket is capable of Sunday, right?
Absolutely. And again, there's no wild cards. There's only just the top two in each bracket. So any single loss and nobody's safe.
I feel like that's the one. No knock. Again, this is what's tough, right? It's polarizing when you talk about one bracket compared to another one. But if we're just like bracket of death, whole tournament bracket A and D4 is the bracket of death, right? Whoever comes out of that bracket is probably going to be ready for the round of 8.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So looking at bracket B, you've got Outlaw, AP Sharks, Austin Evolution, Cold Blooded, Shut Up We're Trying, and Elite Dynasty. So what do you think of that bracket?
Yeah, another tough one, right? Like all those teams, Shut Up We're Trying. I said it, like these teams that have bigger organizations behind them, I think you see a lot more bodies getting moved around, right? Mark Franz, Shut Up We're Trying. When you have 2 teams in there, and if one's in the running and one's not, a guy's got to get moved here or there. It's interesting to see who shows up for those teams, right? Like not individually, but just the team. All of a sudden, one team's into the hunt. You put your best players on that team and kind of reshuffle, right? There's multiple of these teams in here that you're like, they could be like Outlaws got 2 in here, right? That blue team could be just as good as the Sharks team, right? It's just you really don't know until the tournament time what you're going to get out of those teams. But everybody in that, I mean, Elite Dynasty, I believe that's the newer, mainly D5, D4 new team. Want to step up and play it,
Yeah, and
that'd be good to get their feet wet.
Yeah, Elite Dynasty has not played an event this year in D4, so that it's another unknown quantity there.
Totally. I mean, and it's so tough, right? Because you don't want to take anything away from any team in any bracket because you're like, man, the 19th team in bracket C, Geometrics, could show up and just pound everybody in their division, right? You see it, right? You'll see a great team like an Elite or Gateway or whoever it is that goes 3-1, and you're like, who'd you lose to? And you're like, oh, those guys, right? And they just come out swinging.
Definitely. So looking at bracket C, we've got Elite, who I will be coaching this event. You've got Shut Up or Trying, Austin Hype, Countdown City, and Geometrics. What do you think there?
Again, another tough, you could say the top 2, right? Elite and Shut Up We're Trying should be the 2 that get out, but Countdown's capable. Hype is more than capable. And the new team, right? Playing for pride and playing for fun, right? They don't have the lower teams don't have as much pressure to win this thing because if they're out of the running, they're just playing to play paintball to win on any given Saturday and Sunday, right? So, very capable.
Yep, and you can't sleep on anybody. You can't drop a game, otherwise your tournament's in jeopardy.
Absolutely. I mean, if there was a betting line on do the top 8 teams make it out, because that would be the top 2 out of each, I would take the bet against it, right? If it was my money on the line, somebody that's not in the top seeds is going to come out of here. So as we talk through these teams, like you said, the evil team absolutely should come through there, but then who do they knock out in the process, right? Like it's going to be, and we want to see that evil versus Gateway game, right? Luke and some of the guys on Gateway are really good paintball players. We want to see that game.
Definitely. So looking at the bracket D, we've got Austin Notorious D4, Cap City Charge, Outlaw AP Blue, Texas Trademark, and Integrity.
Yeah, I mean, again, Outlaws team, even the Integrity guys are out of. I was just looking at it while we were talking. They're out of Louisiana, yeah. So you've got a lot of guys there that possibly have played together from the same area. I think any of these teams in this bracket have a possibility to go through, right? It's not like there's a D5 team in here that has no experience stepping up to 4 just to get their feet wet before the end of the year. These are all capable teams, right?
For sure. And Texas Trademark, who only played the event at X Factor, they got 3rd place there. So it's again an upset. It's an upset alert for sure. You can't sleep on them.
Totally. And it's good. It's great. Parity's good, right? Like you want to see different teams coming in and winning. It's going to be a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. All right. So now the last bracket of the evening, we're going to cover the Elite Division with the most on the line. There are 9 teams, and I know you were happy to hear this. Technically, all 9 teams that are signed up for the championships are in the running for the series.
Yeah, definitely cool to see, right? I mean, this division, USXBL hasn't really ran D3 in a couple of years, and when they did, it was always pretty lackluster, right? So it's cool to see. It's good to see the teams and hopefully a start to building a division, because if you don't have this division, then D4 really gets flooded, right? Like, you have so many good players that end up dropping down the pipeline that backs the whole thing up. So with these guys, it's good to see and a competitive season up there.
Oh, yeah. And so let's go ahead and get into this. So Beefy Boys is the only team that's in control of their destiny here. And also on your screen, you've got the chart of all of the placements. So the gap in between each place is 22.5 points, all the way down to 9th. So Beefy Boys will secure it with a finals appearance, or if Jackpot does not make the finals, they will secure it with a top 3. So Beefy Boys, they've been very consistent all year long. I think they got 2 4th places, and then they won the last one.
Yep. Yeah, they've been in the Final Four at every one, and they have plans like you guys do to move up to D2 and NXL here, and we're happy for them. I know they're definitely hoping to get the money. I'm sure a win at the event plus that would probably pay for all their entries and then some. So it's going to be interesting, right? Jackpot has had a great year until the last event at their home field, X Factor, where just wheels came off, right? Didn't have all their guys. It seemed like there was some turmoil within at that point. It just was a tough event for them, right? Going into that event, if anybody had said, I think they went 0-4, yeah? If they had gotten one win out of there, this points hunt would be completely different.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking on Beefy Boys, like they did play Division 2 this year. They played Division 2 in NXL Dallas, and they got 2nd place in a double overtime finish. So that's a team that was a 1v1 away from winning a Division 2 event this year already. And then that team has gotten 2 4th places in this elite division. So like, even though it's like a D3 plus, it's a very hard event to win.
Absolutely.
So
being a D3 team, Jackpot's beat twice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Jackpot is,
again, that's where it comes down to who gets hot around. Beefy Boys have been trending in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So looking at Jackpot's chances, they need Beefy to not make the finals and to win the event in order to steal. So Jackpot has an opportunity if the brackets line up and they match up against each other in the semifinals, they could be in control of their destiny, but they need a little bit of luck to go their way. But again, Jackpot, they won the first 2 events. For whatever reason, event 3, they just couldn't figure it out. I don't know if it was things going on within the team or if the layout just really didn't agree with them, but I would expect them to do better than the last place they got at the last event.
I think everybody would put their money on that, right? Whether you're for them or you're against them, that's a really good paintball team and a good group of guys, right? So short-term, long-term goals. Sometimes you have a failure on a short-term goal, but the long-term goal is still there for championships and to continue to build a championship team. And I believe Matt's still gung-ho on that, right? And so are the players. I believe one player might be gone, but still the same core of team. So should be good.
For sure. And one more thing to keep in mind with the Jackpot, with their poor performance at the last one, their bracket was brutal. They had, as the number 1 team, they drew Grit and they drew the Titans, 2 teams that had not played the event or played the series at all up until that point. And like, that's a team who's in first place, or who was a former semi-pro team, and then us, the Titans, who already had gotten a 1st and a 2nd place in the NXL. So like, they had a very unfortunate bracket draw at the last one.
And that was again, going into it, we all said this is going to be a bracket of death, right? Like, and we just didn't expect to see Jackpot, do as poorly, and neither did they, right? It's okay to say it. Like, Matt and them expected better out of themselves. So, but like you said, Grit guys are back. There was just a tough bracket.
For sure. And looking at Jackpot's matches for this one, so all 9 teams are in one big bracket. Jackpot plays Bricktown, TKO, Houston Zone, and Austin Notorious. So you've got a cup like that, I would say, is much more favorable of a draw than their last event for sure.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So going down the list, Zone needs Beefy Boys to get fourth and or lower, and Jackpot to not make the finals as well as a win. Balls Out needs Beefy Boys out in prelims, Jackpot not to make the finals, and they need to place ahead of Zone with a win. And then as we go down the list, going all the way down to Grit and Bricktown Bucks, they need, like doing the math on the Bricktown Bucks, they actually need the entire board to flip. So they need Beefy Boys last, Jackpot 8th, Zone 7th, all the way. So again, technically possible. They need a lot of things to go their way, but every team here is in the running.
Totally. And it's going to be a fight on Saturday morning.
Yep. I think, so looking at some of here, I'm going to click on the schedule for the Elite Division just so we can highlight like the games, because obviously they're all in the same bracket. But looking at the games that we believe are the must-watch games. So in the Elite Division, just scrolling down, I've got it on my screen here. I think that at least toward the top, you've got let's see, Austin Notorious D3 against Grit is going to be a challenging game. Jackpot and Zone, Beefy Boys and Grit they're going to play each other in their last prelim game. So that could be a big implications for who moves on, who gets the top seed, or who's going home.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's your schedule for the Elite Division. Looking at the chat, Notorious had a player drop last minute. Yep. Jackpot, I know they parted ways with one player who is now on Grit. Another thing for Grit is that they actually merged with the D4 team, the Dragoons. There were, I believe, 3 players that made their way onto Grit, so that's why you don't see the Dragoons signed up for this one, despite being, I think, 6th place in the series for D4. So look for Grit with that, with those new additions to their roster to be dangerous. Those players that they picked up are very solid, very athletic.
Absolutely. Like, again, that the Grit guys surprised everybody last event, and with more firepower, I think we're all waiting to see who shows up and what it looks like.
Yep, definitely. All right, so I think that just about does it for our bracket like preview for the series. Mike, do you have any final thoughts going into the weekend?
No, I mean, hopefully, good weekend. Looks like we got some good weather. It's not a bazillion degrees out. I think the layout's going to be fun, right? Like coming into it last year, buying the league, people saying like, hopefully it's not a slow layout or a layout we make so we burn paint and so on. I don't think we've ever built on my side of the fence a slow, intentional layout, right? And I don't think this one will be slow. It's going to have the outsides are pretty classic, and the center of the field is going to be something we haven't seen before.
All right. Well, I'm definitely excited. So, Mike, for everybody who's listening, when will the layout be dropping, and when can players and teams go and walk the field on Friday?
Drops online noon Friday, and I believe the field will be open noon Friday as well. And I believe it'll be open till 6 or 7 at least. I know Fit usually stays open late on Fridays and can turn the lights on for guys coming in later. I'll touch base with JD. I know JD and Sarah are working at their other business mainly during the week. We will have that posted most likely tomorrow on just what time they're going to stay open till.
All right, for sure. So yeah,
check-in is 4 to 6. There'll be online check-in links going out on Friday where guys can sign in online if they already have all their ID and all that, so they can bypass.
All right. Well, there's all the info for everybody. Layout drops on Friday. I'm definitely excited to get to see it. I'm excited to get to go coach Elite this weekend. That's a great team. I've been a fan of theirs for a while. I'm excited to see what I can do to help that team play at their very best, because when they play to their potential, they will win events just straight up.
Yeah, no, it'll be good to see. It'll be good to see you out there as well.
Yep, and I will also be running a booth for a project. So if you happen to be at the event, come check out the booth. We're going to have some things there, maybe even a few things that have not been released yet. So come swing by, check us out. And then a quick shout out to all the sponsors of the show. And also a friend of mine, fellow podcaster Ryan Moffat, goes by Mafia Productions, recently moved to Round Rock, just north of Austin, and he will be attending the event. So if you're needing any media coverage last minute, please hit him up. Fellow podcaster, he does fantastic work, and I believe he still has a slot or two available for booking, so go check him out. And I think that just about does it for our show. Mike, thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing this. I know that you had a pretty long drive because I know you drive to and from make this big trip. So rest up, and we'll see you on Friday when we're all walking the field.
Definitely appreciate being on, man.
Absolutely. All right. So that does it for our show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to go follow the USXBL on Instagram. That's at USXBL. What other guests would you like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on youtube.com/@inthepitspaintballpodcast, and recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. Shout out to my partner and sponsor tier subscribers on Patreon, FE Athletics, Get That Shot, Paintball Comité, Compete, BEM Raps, Hydra, XTPL Events, Mariachi Aguilas de Oro, Pod Runners Union, SAT 3v3, 71 Designs, which, speaking of SAT 3v3, I did say we were going to circle back around to that, Sasha. Sasha's event in San Antonio, his 3v3 is going to be the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And that event is now live on PB Leagues to be available to sign up. I believe he's offering 3 different divisions, and I will be the head ref for that. So we're looking forward to seeing you all out there. Be sure to sign up for the SAT 3v3. That is on Sunday, November 24th at X Factor Paintball Park in San Antonio. And then our other sponsors, we've got 71 Designs, TexanHemp.com, and QBRofficial.com. All right, Mike, thank you so much. And everybody else, we will see you next week.